Hello and welcome to Take It to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me, of course, the star of the show, former WWE World Tag Team Champion, 8-time Smoky Mountain Wrestling Tag Team Champion, one of the greatest trainers ever in the history of the business, the Doctor of Desire himself, Dr. Tom Prichard. Dr. Tom, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great today, John. Thank you for always asking, especially on a fall night like this. It kind of reminds me of years ago in Birmingham, Alabama, and um, Anniston, Alabama, and Mobile, Alabama. They were all three of my favorite towns. And in the fall, their leaves are beautiful, and the quaint countryside that we saw was always a memory in my mind. Hell, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm doing great tonight, John.
Nice. I was going to say, man, that's
I
pretty
know.
descriptive of
Oh, of
some
course it
stuff.
was. I'm trying to tell people how to tell stories, try and teach them how to tell stories, and I really
Right.
don't even know how to tell a story. But we're trying.
So, what's going on in the world of the JPWA?
We're in our 6th week of the last session for 2022, and uh, everybody's working hard. Everybody's doing a great job. And once we're done, December 10th, we're done until January.
Nice. And then what does everybody do?
Well, I'm taking December off, is what I'm going to do. And then we come back in January. Uh, they come for 4 nights a week, 4 hours a night, and then Wednesday, one night a week for 2 hours a night. That's a lot of practice. And for
Yeah.
people who also have to do jobs and come in and go from 6 to 10 at night, um, that can be a lot if you haven't done that in a while. And you're working one or two jobs. I admire the people that come in and want to do that. And that's what a lot of our guys do. They come in, get a job or two, and train and do it again. And this class is for 10 weeks. The other three sessions are 12 weeks. So I think not only do they deserve some time off, but I deserve some time off because I'm the guy for
Yes.
all those four
Yes.
sessions. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. There you have it. And it
Yes.
gets cold here in Knoxville.
With that getting a job or having a job, do a lot of guys do that? They work full time and then they come and train?
Some, yeah, some guys come in and have a job during the day and get off at 3 or 4. Come train with us from 6 to 10. Go home, get some sleep, and do it again. There's 24 hours in a day. I've heard that before. People say, "Look, you can." There, it's possible. It's not
Yeah.
always easy, but simple. Just schedule your day accordingly, and some do, some don't.
Guess it depends on how bad you want it too, right?
I think so, and I think it's certainly it's a different business than I broke into, certainly, but it's also the same in the sense that if you really want to do this and you're looking for something, you'll figure a way out, and even when the bumps hurt on those cold nights, you'll figure a way out, and if it becomes laborious and you're not having fun, that's when you know it's not for you. Because you got to learn how to work around it and make the most out of your time in the ring. So some guys do, and some guys come for the experience, and I'll give you the same experience. And knowing that you're doing this because you just want to see what it's like. But other guys come in and work hard and work two or three jobs, and so manage to come in for 4 hours.
Did you work or did you have a job when you were training to be a wrestler back in the
No,
day?
no,
No. Okay.
wrestling was my job. It was different back then. And so we got sent to a territory, and you started working right away. At least that's I did in 1979. I
Right.
went to LA in 1980, and that back then that was some guys had a job, but my job was professional wrestling.
When the guys are doing that, and it's a little brutal of a day for them. They're complaining at all? They're saying anything, or they're just focus?
No, I mean, I can tell when people are tired, but there's not a territory for guys to go to where they were running, where people are running on a like
Yeah.
Monday through Sunday or Monday through Saturday, whatever it may be. That model doesn't exist anymore. So if you're getting bookings once every 2 months or once every 2 weeks, whatever it is, if you train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with Wednesday being the light day, that's similar to a territory, and
Yeah.
you're getting your reps in on a daily basis. And then once you're done, we do the advanced class from 3 to 6, and same thing. Guys figure a way to make it, or if not, they'll come for the next class. But it's all a matter of you can look back and there's a lot of biographies of not just athletes but entertainers who had to pound the pavement, work a job, and then go to auditions and do whatever they had to do to make it, and believe in themselves and get that opportunity. And I read something today about the movie star is dead because everybody can be on the internet or TikTok or something like this. You ever heard of Juzzy Smith from Australia? A
No.
one man band, and I
Like
think
Heath Slater, huh? One man band.
exactly. But this guy's playing festivals and he's playing on the streets and playing for tips and things like this. Well, it's kind of like when you're starting out in wrestling. It's the entertainment business. You have to go where you can get booked and get your reps in, listen to different audiences, know what works, find out what doesn't, and um, see what these guys, study different people from different forms of entertainment and see if there's anything to steal or take up with, take from them,
Do
make
you
it your
think the
own.
movie star is dead though? Because I feel like the guys who are the real movie stars, the guys like The Rock and Schwarzenegger, Stallone. I mean, they're movie stars, not these random like YouTube guys, right? Do you think that?
Well, yes, but what I think they were saying is there's no such thing as the people like Jennifer Aniston who had a series like Friends, and people knew her, who watched that series, and that was a form of that program, and Two and a Half Men, and uh, The Big Bang Theory. Those were programs that I think people were fans of and watched on a regular basis, and you can find those on various channels. Sit there and binge watch, and you knew who each character was, and Cheers, things like that. Watch how the characters got over. What did they do? Um, you might find a trait or something this guy says or something this guy does, and make it yours, because anybody can be a star these days. You got a camera on your phone, put something up there and show you doing fantastic stuff. Media, social media. We can watch anything from anything you want on YouTube and other various places. We're instant information, instant gratification, instant everything these days. Um, so I think you can learn from a lot of people. And what makes you unique? What is it about you people are going to want to pay and see? Don't know until you find it. But I know it's not because you did a beautiful sit out or a great arm drag. If you do a great arm drag, that's cool. But if you have no feeling or nobody cares about you when you do it, then it doesn't matter.
It's
So,
true.
thank
That's
you.
true. Very true. With obviously the guys that are there, and the gals, they're doing all the training, doing all this stuff. What did you say was the 2 hour one? That was the promo one. The
The
promo
what
class.
now? Yeah, 2 hours, 6 to 8, because I have to come home and do this podcast. Plus, we need a break in between the week. We need let's do Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday we'll talk because we need to talk. We need to learn how to
Yeah.
talk.
Oh
Everybody
yeah.
needs to learn how to communicate and tell
Yes.
stories. And I think that gets muddied in the water when you say tell stories. What does that mean? Give me something where if I'm switching channels or looking at YouTube and the next video comes on and you're on it, I'm going to listen to it as opposed to click next or get that off. There's a couple guys. I've talked about this before. Uh, Zicky Dice.
Yeah.
I saw him on a random YouTube gimmick. It happened to come up. I was letting just everything kind of roll together. I was doing stuff at the same time, but I heard his promo. I heard him, and I glanced up and saw this colorful shirt. This guy, who looked like a gimmick, talking, and I listened to the promo. Then I watched this match, and I said, okay, he's a gimmick, but I would watch it, and I might be compelled to find a place for him,
Right.
or see how he develops and where he lands, where he makes his place. Amp Dominic's another guy. I was talking about this tonight with the guys. He was at Ricky Morton's school and came out with a spray bottle and had "Ugly Be Gone" written on that spray bottle, and said, "I'm here to save East Tennessee with all the ugly people. I'm going to spray everybody with "Ugly Be Gone." It had a story. That was his story. Zicky Dice was telling you a story. It wasn't just, I'm going to go beat you up in a wrestling match. I'm here at this place and we've got a rally going on, and I'm right in the middle of it, and people love me, and whatever he said. I don't recall now. I just remember he had a presence. He captured my attention, and people are worried about just reciting words and not putting feeling into it. It's not necessarily the words, it's how the words are said. And Dusty Rhodes with Hard Times and many other promos are great to watch, because you're going to want to see these peculiar people, these not your average bear kind of guys.
I was talking to a wrestler very recently, a younger guy, was in NXT. Now he's out and about in the indie world, AEW. I mean, the guy's all over the place, but he was saying that NXT had like an idea for a gimmick, and it was like, okay, let's see you do it. Let's see you do it. Okay, they like the other guy did it better. To me, that doesn't really work because it's not the true character of the
Right.
guy. You know what I mean? So the
Right.
guy was probably happy because it's like, okay, I'm glad it didn't say the lines right, 'cause it's not me. It's not my
Well,
character.
right. And one of the great things about finding a persona or a character
Yep.
is telling stories and having comebacks and getting something out of you in whatever means necessary. If I've got to piss you off to get an idea or a thought out there, and then it kind of rubs you raw, and then you feel it, and you get a little angry, you get a little authentic with it. You have to have heard good stories to be able to tell good stories, I think. And another storyteller for me, or at least sound bites, and he's certainly not everybody's cup of tea or taste, but David Lee Roth understood sound bites when Van Halen was in their beginnings. And I think that's part of the contention between Alex and Eddie. Was the band was called Van Halen, but David Lee Roth got all the attention, or
Yeah.
the majority of the attention. And it's the same thing with this. Jerry Lawler would be entertaining on his promos. He would cut one-liners. He would tell a joke without going and say, "Hey, let me tell you a joke." He would just say it. He would do it. And he would look at him, and I couldn't warm up to this guy if we were cremated together. Stuff like that would just roll off his tongue. He didn't have to think about it, didn't have to remember it. It was just natural. And that's the same thing that everybody has to do with promos. You try it and you practice. And you get better at it, or you get worse at it. If you get worse at it, maybe you ought to think about doing something else.
Yeah, I feel like too. A lot of I don't know. A lot of the guys to me, NXT, WB, whatever you want to say, like always forced into some of the gimmicks, and it's not really them. Maybe Triple H could change that a little bit here, but I don't know. Like
Well, here's the thing. I
it
think
works better that way.
I think it does, but you ever heard of Lord Lansdowne?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So you know, Gorgeous George stole his gimmick from Lord
Yep.
Lansdowne. Okay. Well, who are the guys going to steal the gimmick from today? If they don't watch old school stuff, then they're going to steal it from what they've already seen. Um, it's got to be authentic. It's got to be real. It's got to be natural. You can't just but they've done this forever. You know, Chili McFreeze, The Undertaker,
Yeah.
all that stuff they've tried, but then it's up to the guy or girl to now. I know this because you think I really wanted to be Zip.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, I didn't speak up, but you have to speak up. But you have to
Yep.
know. You have to know what story you want to tell and how you're going to tell it. You can't rely on anyone but yourself to tell your story. They may give you a guide, but it's up to you to get that over in your way. And if you're not feeling that, then you better have something else to try. And my philosophy is try a bunch of stuff and keep what works. Don't saddle the guy with a gimmick. Say you do it, and you do it, and we'll pick the one that's best. Because that's not. You're right. That's not going to work. That's the issue I think with the NIL, next in line stuff.
Yeah.
Great theory, great in concept, but you can't force people to have passion for this. Without passion, I think it's going to come across as dry, sterile, not authentic. Too many guys, I've seen it before, come from other sports and look down on what wrestling and wrestlers do. Even sports entertainers, although I guess we can call them wrestlers now. Anyway,
Yeah.
whatever.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. And even if we can't, by God, we will. I'm not. Are you under contract? Anyway, the point is, you have to feel it and you have to have passion. When you're going to tell guys, hey, just come to our PC and we'll show you how to do it and you'll be great. Well, that's not always true. What happened to the guy, Parker Boudreaux?
Yeah, I think he signed with AEW, but WWE
Okay.
released him.
What
Yeah.
happened to the guy just recently, the Bo D guy? Where was he
He
from?
got released too. Yeah, Bodie
Yeah,
Howard. I don't
Bodie
know
Howard.
why.
Yeah, yeah.
Big dude too. Yeah.
Well, because they said he was late and they didn't, or well, the internet said he was late. He was not professional. I could be wrong. I thought that's what they said. Uh,
Interesting.
and he was shocked that he got released. I don't know. I've never seen him. Don't know him. So I just read what the internet says, and it's like, well, you have a preconceived notion of what this is, wrestling, and then you get there and you figure out, oh, wait a minute, we actually have to learn something. We actually have to do something before we can get to the next thing. Without the basics and fundamentals, you can't get to the next thing. And I think the expectations of a lot of the athletes, I could be wrong, but this is just my assumption. And I'll go ahead and say I'm the ass in the assumption.
Right.
Okay. But maybe you'll find that wrestling fan, maybe you'll find that guy or girl who connects Jake Logan or Logan Paul or Jake Paul or no,
Both Logan Paul, Jake Paul.
Logan
Yeah.
Paul. Gosh, I don't even know. Anyway, yeah, Logan Paul. He's obviously looks like a natural. He obviously enjoys wrestling. He gets the performance aspect of it,
Yep.
and the athletic aspect of it. He understands the dynamics. He knows has a clue how it works. Those guys are valuable assets, but how many of those guys are out there?
Not many. Yeah.
Yeah, not many. So I don't know.
Yeah, but that's why they call it professional wrestling. It's got to be professional.
Right, and a lot of people think it's easier than it really is, especially if you've never watched it or don't have an appreciation for it, and that's how it goes.
Funny, the guys who were like big fans, Pat McAfee, Logan Paul, they seem to do better than some of the guys that are athletes that they just throw in there because they think they were great athletes in other
Right.
sports.
Well, it's because if you appreciated it for what it was, and then you get the opportunity to do it, and you can appreciate the work you have to do to get it to look the way you want it to look and need it to look, and understand uh, it is the entertainment aspect and not necessarily what a beautiful arm drag, or what, let's say arm drag, because a good arm drag can be great, but a headlock, I mean, it's not that. It is a leapfrog. It is the body language. It is diving off the top rope. No doubt about it. That's the exciting part about it. But those guys feel it more, McAfee and Logan Paul, because I think they do have a respect for the business, and they understand what it is, and they watched it and they knew it, and it's like Tyson. I think Mike Tyson, watching Bruno and those guys growing up in his area, uh, he was a fan, and then he became the champion of the world. And my God, when he came in, the reason he treated it the way he did is because he was having the time of his life, and he was respectful and enjoyed being there. Some of the guys, oh, I think, look down their nose at it and say, "Hey, they want me because I'm a real athlete, not one of these phony guys." And I think that translates in their work, that they're just going through the motions. They don't know how to feel it. They don't know how to be emotional when they're in the ring. I think they just, again, this is just my assumption. I think people just come sometimes and think you can show me a couple things and I'm going to be a superstar. Whatever happened to Gable Stevenson?
I heard he's finally back to training because I
Hmm.
know his brother's on NXT TV. His brother is Damon Kemp or whatever. But
Oh,
I
okay.
heard he's back to training, and that Triple H is hanging the NIL like tag on him. Like his success is going to breed more. So I
Oh,
heard he's really like backing him getting, because I heard he wasn't training for a while. I think he got hurt. Now he's back to training again. So Triple H is
well,
really putting a lot behind him, I think.
I hope so. I hope he does well. But it's been a year.
I know it's funny. His little brother's it's on TV wrestling, so I don't know
Okay.
what's going on.
How is his little brother?
Seemed like he was okay.
Okay.
A little green for sure.
Well, everybody's green. There's no
Yeah,
crime being green. Not everybody's gonna start like that. But okay, cool.
but he was wrestling the Creed brothers. The Creed brothers looked pretty good.
Okay. Well,
Diamond Mine, Ivy Nile, of course, your
sure.
girls in there. They look good. He just looked, he'll get there, but he looked a little green, but that's fine.
Yeah, everybody has to go through that process.
I have no idea how many matches he's had either. I don't think he's had many.
Well, somebody asked me if I saw his last match, and I said I sure hope so. Okay, boom. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, no, I practice, 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 and some will get it, some will feel it, and some won't.
So, as far as today and today's topic, wanted to talk about a little feud that you had down there in CCW, aka CWF, down there in Birmingham, Alabama area. Obviously, went through Mississippi and a little bit of Tennessee mixed in, but most maybe even Huntsville, Alabama mixed in. But a little feud with the Dirty White Boy, Tony Anthony. You guys had a few tag matches in Mid South in '85, but really when we're recording this, it's 11-9, but um, it wasn't obviously this year. It was back in 1987, so it actually lines up pretty well. Was the first match in CCW a part of the Tom Prichard Dirty White Boy feud? You win that one in Birmingham, Alabama by DQ. What are your thoughts on that feud back there, if you can remember it? I know you remember the leaves and stuff and all that in the fall season, but the Dirty White Boy feud.
If I didn't know any better, I would think that was a shot at my memory, and that's okay too because
Yes.
I blocked out a lot of stuff. The angle with the Dirty White Boy was um, Robert. Well, actually, Ron Fuller had sold the territory, and Eddie Gilbert came in the book. Uh, and Eddie brought his brother Doug, Paul Heyman, Pistol Pez, Sid Vicious, who's as humongous,
Yes.
some other guys in, and Ron Fuller came up to Knoxville. Eddie kept some of us on the crew. I'd known Eddie from Memphis, and uh, Tony and Doug had been friends, and Eddie been friends for a long time too. So we stayed on while while Ron took the rest of the crew up to Knoxville. And I remember there are some guys in the business you can work with in wrestling. You have that chemistry with, and Tony was one of them. Tony was and is a hell of a worker. And Eddie said he wanted us to come up with something to put the Alabama title on Tony and do an angle somehow. And I had seen Nick Bockwinkel back in El Paso growing up. There was a guy named, they called himself the Hangman, and he'd come to the ring with the hangman's noose. And after the match, he would always put the noose over the guy's neck and beel him from the corner to corner. Well, Hangman beat this guy one day on TV and started to put the noose around his neck. And here comes Nick Bockwinkel and making a big comeback. And Hangman cuts him down and puts the noose around Bockwinkel's neck and beels him from corner to corner. And I always remember that. That was like great visual. And I thought, what if we do this? We'll involve the dirty white girl to screw me for the Alabama championship. I was the Alabama champion. And she's going to chloroform me in a street fight, Alabama street fight. And the next week, I would come out. I would put my hair up under my hat, come out, hit Tony with a board during his match, and I would cut his hair. Tony had some pretty long, stringy hair at that time. He says, I probably need a haircut now anyway, so you can go ahead and cut it. So I did. And then the next week, we said, okay, what about if you come up and attack me from behind, put the noose around my neck, and take me to the ring and hang me? Eddie says, well, I need something more than that. I mean, that sounds good, but we got to add a little bit more in there. I said, okay. What if he hits me with a chair, has a pair of handcuffs,
Yes,
puts my hand behind my back, handcuffs my hand behind my back, puts the noose around me, and pulls me to the ring and hangs me? He says, okay, I like that. So, we told Randy Colley for some reason. I don't know why Randy knew, but Eddie might have told him. Anyway, I had to get a syringe and condoms.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And bring them to the fairgrounds that night. And Randy Colley put the syringe in my arm and drew blood and put it in the condom because I was going to bite the condom.
Right.
As Tony hung me from the ring, my arms were behind my back, and have the blood run down my chin. And Gordon Soley was going to say, he's okay, he's conscious, and he was going to cover it, but he was going to see the blood and react. And we took the blood out, put it in the condom, put it in some warm water in the locker room, in the sink. Well, a couple red flags should have gone off. Number one, condoms were meant not to break. I mean, condoms are not supposed to. That's the idea. And we didn't tie it tight enough. It was kind of like chewing gum anyway. And you tied it and you cut the residual off. So the idea was this. The dirty white girl comes out, beginning of the show. She wants to talk to Tom. She has a black eye.
Yep.
Charlie goes back to get me. I won't come out. Do a couple segments. She comes out again. Gordon goes back. I come out. The idea is she's going to have me turn my back. Here comes the white boy, hits me in the back. I go down. The referee comes out. And I said, when I go down, please get my glasses. And also, he's going to come out with a condom, put it in my mouth. As soon as he put it in my mouth, I knew I was in trouble because it was chewy. I tried to bite down on it, and it, there was no way. And then I realized, oh, that's not really a good idea because maybe we should have used a balloon. But
Right.
anyway, so that was what was supposed to happen, and we destroyed the set. He when Tony hung me though, when he put the noose around my neck, even if you pull the rope without trying to tighten the noose, the noose tightens. And we didn't know that because we didn't do rehearsals back then. We didn't walk through stuff. We just did it. So I'm choking the whole way down, and I can't tell Tony anything. My hands are behind my back, and I can't pull the rope. Or Steve Armstrong, I think it was, had a blade because they were all going to save me. The baby faces were going to save me, and he was going to poke the blade or poke the condom with the blade if it didn't break. So when he did, that warm blood that had been sitting in the locker room all night stunk to high heaven, and everybody almost puked.
Gross.
Yeah,
Oh.
oh, it was gross. It was bad.
Oh.
So we did that, and we thought it was a hell of an angle, but we were at the fairgrounds. So Boutwell Auditorium was being renovated or whatever was going on back then. It was around the time when times were really changing and um, WWE was on the move, and we were doing the best we could with what we had.
And you were telling me it didn't help really draw any more money or any more people.
Oh no, we drew. They were hanging from the rafters.
Oh,
Yeah, they're hanging from the rafters. They should have been down. They could have come from the rafters and gotten the seats, but they preferred to hang from the rafters. So there are plenty of seats for them to sit, but they were hanging
right,
from the
right.
rafters. Yeah. Anyway, no, it was tremendous business. See, those things that I tell you off the deal, you're supposed
Oh,
to like act
sorry.
like we
Oh,
keep
sorry.
record. Who's going to remember that was what 35 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's going to remember how much we drew? We could sit here like everybody else, and I could tell you we drew record houses.
But you would think like an angle like that so many people would be fired up about it, but it kind
Well,
of caused a little bit of controversy, a little bit of a stir.
well, I guess it caused a stir with some people, and some people, uh, whatever it was, we did the best we could with it. We had an angle at least, so we went to the ring. We had something to work towards, and uh, we also did a deal where in Dothan, where Tony hit me in the head with a beer bottle. Uh, Eddie was drawing good houses. Eddie Gilbert was drawing good houses back then when he was booking for what I don't know how he did it, but he had Paul Heyman, he had Missy Hyatt, brother Doug,
Yep.
and uh, whatever magic he was working, they were coming. Dothan was doing great. Montgomery was doing great. Birmingham was a little bit on the fence. Again, the fairgrounds wasn't in a great part of town, so people, it wasn't like you were coming to downtown for the Beltwell Auditorium. And for whatever reason, uh, that was Alabama Southern wrestling. Maybe people were looking for something else back then.
Man, what a cool angle though! Like awesome. Like what? Like I don't know. To me, you would think like that's crazy. Maybe the TV station might have thought otherwise, but obviously, I thought it was great.
Yeah, well, it's I remember seeing uh, an angle where Terry Funk came and chased the Infernos off the set, the Infernos and JC Dykes off the set in El Paso on TV. And the camera followed the Infernos in their mask and gear with JC Dykes running out the door, and they kept the door open there, and they're going to their car. And Terry comes out, picks up a brick sitting outside the parking lot, and throws it at the car, and it hits the back window and dents the car. And of course, the senior paid for it, but it was that kind of stuff. Where what would you do? You'd really, if you were that hot at them, if they burned you, if they did something, then you're going to get revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If you've never seen it or felt it and felt what authenticity is, when Dusty Rhodes would cut a promo, he was authentic. Piper, Flair, Arn Anderson. There's some great promo guys out there uh, who believed it because they immersed themselves in it, and everybody's playing a part these days. And it goes back to you can play a part if you lean into the part and believe it. But I think it has to be you. It has to be a part of you that's authentic for people to buy in.
And that angle is great because you guys have street fights, you have I Quit matches, you have the First Blood matches. I mean, you guys have some crazy matches to kind of keep that feud going.
Yeah, it was. I think for us, uh, the next step was to turn white boy babyface in Alabama, and then uh, I left. After that, I left. I was going to Japan in August, but I left a couple months before that. Went and hung out in Texas for a little bit. Um, so while that was going on, I think the, you can't do anything like that these days. It wouldn't work. I don't think people buy into it or care. Um, so I always ask everybody what's going to get their attention. I think it got people's attention, and I've talked to people who've asked about it through the years. And some guys have told me when they were kids they cried, which I get it because I saw the violence like that on El Paso TV when they would uh, hit somebody and they'd be knocked out. And I swear to God, I saw an angle again between the Von Brauners and Saul Weingroff against Terry Funk, where it looked like Weingroff took out this hatchet with this meat cleaver and hits Terry not in the head but in the ear, and Terry's ear is bleeding. And it was violent and it was uh, scary and unpredictable. These two big bald German guys kicking the shit out of poor Terry Funk. I remember seeing it, and the reaction of the people was, "My God, they're hurting him, they're killing him." It was only 20 years removed from World War II. You had two Nazis, two bald-headed German portrayed Nazis, and a Jewish manager. 20 years removed from World War II. Nobody can comprehend or relate to that these days. I understand, and I didn't relate to it back then. I just knew Weingroff was a slimy manager,
Right.
and I remembered I remembered the delivery, how they did it, and I think they drew a lot better than we did. They cut Terry's hair, and it was like, we're going to humiliate you. I think the same thing with Dirty White Boy. He was going to humiliate me, and I don't think he meant to kill me, although maybe he did.
Right.
Uh, but he was going to he was going to get revenge for me cutting his hair, and it was supposed to escalate. Um, can you do that today? I don't know. I really don't know.
When you look at that feud, look back at it, obviously you end up finally in '88, the end of '88, really, or towards the end of '88, you get the win. You win the CWF heavyweight title, and that's kind of the end of the feud there until you guys meet again in USWA and you meet again in Smoky Mountain. So, I mean, you guys wrestled basically from like '85 to like, I don't even know, I guess it was almost '95, pretty much almost 10 or 11 years straight that you guys had matches of some sort, whether it was 8 man, 6 man tag match, 1-on-1. You guys basically had matches for 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, it was. It was. I think, and it's like that today in some places where you work with the same guys in that same crew. You have guys like Carlito and Mike Masters, or not Mike Masters, Chris Masters, and Aaron Stevens, Tyrus, Murdoch, who a lot of them are on the same cards, and a lot of working because they know each other, and wherever you can get booked and have that match um, against the guy you feel comfortable working with, that's a no brainer. And White Boy was a hell of a worker, and we had some great matches. And it was a lot of fun when you go out there and don't have to even call anything in the back.
Right.
That was, but once again, you can read stuff and see it, and that's the fun part when you get to that point where you don't have to call every little move, and that just comes with time.
What a gimmick, too. Dirty White Boy. Obviously, in WWF, he was TL Hopper, which is horrible, the plumber. But what a gimmick the Dirty White Boy was.
That wasn't a gimmick. He was a dirty white boy. I remember somebody saying, "Well, what the hell? What kind of name is a dirty white boy?" Well, it was boss. It was a Boston foreigner, but dirty white boy. I'm just a dirty. Who was
Oh,
that?
yeah. Is
Foreigner?
it Boston?
I think maybe or foreigner. No, it's Boston, wasn't it?
I thought so.
Oh yeah, could be. Yeah, check. Anyway, but he was him and Lynn Denton. They were the grapplers, and then they became dirty white boys, and just took off the mask and put on a couple pairs of different tights and biker boots, and came out, and here you are.
Foreigner, actually. Wow. Okay.
Foreigner, okay. He's either Boston or foreigner. So yeah, and he lived the gimmick. Bucksnort, Tennessee. Surely to God, you've been to Bucksnort. Everybody's been to Bucksnort. Anyway,
Hell,
huh?
hell no.
Hell, no, you've never been to Bucksnort.
No, never been there.
Good, good. They don't. I don't think they'd figure you around them parts.
I think your buddy Mance Warner and Bunkhouse Buck are from Buckstore, Tennessee.
Bunkhouse is from Bucksnort, and I believe Mance is too. You are correct.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful establishment and a wonderful city. I've been to Bucksnort on numerous occasions. And then you got Dyersburg, Tennessee, too. That's another legendary uh, locale for rough and ready rednecks in Tennessee.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Good.
if you want to go to Dyersburg too, I think a trip down to Tennessee would do you good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might have to do that. Yeah, for sure.
I'm just
So,
saying. Go ahead.
so as we wind it down here, we head towards the finish. Let's hit the plugs. Let's talk about your book, Dr. Tom. Where can everybody get your book?
Well, John, I think
Yep.
but everybody else needs to know that you can go to jpwrestlingacademy.com and click on training. It'll come up, and you can order from Amazon. You can also check out our next classes, which start in January. You can fill in an application if you like. Come on down. Knoxville is beautiful in January. And Knoxville's beautiful all the time. We have the mountains. We have a lot of things to see here. And training is actually interesting in the winter months. We already have some people who have sent in their applications, and we're looking forward to a good class in January. But that's jpwrestlingacademy.com.
Hey, no one better to get trained by than a guy that trained The Rock, Kurt Angle, Mark Henry, and the list goes on and on and on. Even some guys that are in NXT right now. And girls, of course.
Well, of course, yes. So I'm very fortunate.
So you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Two Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. You can follow Dr. Tom on Twitter at Dr. Tom Prichard. Go to Pro Wrestling Tees, ProWrestlingTees.com. Visit the JPWA store. Also visit the Dr. Tom store. I love the Wanted Dead or Alive shirt, which is part of a great promo you threw onto Dirty White Boy, telling him he's wanted dead or alive. You're going to kill him, basically.
Well, I didn't say kill, but I did say I'd take a baseball bat.
Yeah.
I did say that you're a man that's wanted dead or alive, and I meant every daggone word I said of it. And even Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream of all people, if they go and Thole with a Beth, going with a Beth, because he
Yes.
sold it like he should.
Yes, he was basically like, "Whoa, Dr. Tom, whoa, we're
No,
on TV here. What are you
didn't.
doing?"
He
Yeah.
wouldn't be the dirty white boy shoes for $1 million.
Yep.
So there you go.
What else you got going on? Anything else?
You know what? I'm leaving Friday for New Orleans for NWA.
Nice.
Hard times in New Orleans. It's going to be a interesting weekend, cool weekend, 2 days, and come back Monday afternoon.
Nice. Sounds good. But thank you, Dr. Tom. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you right back here next week for a little Take It to School with Dr. Tom Prichard. We'll see you next week, folks.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal TV for instant updates.